Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Welcome to Mondays. Yes, it's the beginning of another week. Glorious. Welcome to Monday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. Is the DCEU better off with Zack Snyder? Now let's focus on what we've seen since Snyder has left, right? I am very excited about next year and next year's movies and HBO Max content. But the fact of the matter is, we haven't seen that content yet. So let's leave that by the wayside. The Snyderverse is Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad 2016 and Wonder Woman 2017. After that, it really is nothing to do with Zack apart from the cast that he cast in those iconic roles. So let's look at this. So we've got Justice League, a disgusting, despicable film that should never have been shown to audiences. We've got Aquaman, a really good film directed by James Wan. I like it. Shazam is a good, middling family movie. At that point, we were desperate for the DCEU to have a film for families. It kind of worked. It wasn't huge, but it did well. So 2 movies after Zack. I'm satisfied, but I'm not as excited as I was during Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel, who I feel are superior movies. But then the mediocrity really set in as we got Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. An absolute clusterfuck of a movie with toxic commentary, right? That made a loss pre the pandemic. You can't blame the pandemic for that movie. You can't. Then you've got Wonder Woman 84, a despicable attempt at a Wonder Woman movie. A director who toxically tried to get away from the superior first Wonder Woman movie that she was said to have directed. Who didn't give the best supporting characters, some of the best supporting characters in a superhero movie, a chance to do more, so we could see them more. Wonder Woman 84 isn't a good film. It's as simple as that. It has an emotional third act, which works, but a great movie isn't one act. Then we move on to James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, a really good, really entertaining movie that some claim is the best DCEU movie ever. Let me be absolutely clear here in my opinion. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad isn't one of the best DCEU movies ever or one of the best comic book movies ever. It may not even be, hot take, better than Suicide 2016 in my opinion. That film won't even make its budget back via movie theatres. Now, it probably will make a slight profit with what they've made over on HBO Max on Day and Date. I don't know exactly. I've been funneled some figures that are very healthy for the film. But the truth is, audiences didn't come to support the movie. It did 26 million, 2 million less than Free Guy. But to be fair, Free Guy has no Day and Date plan, so of course it's going to make a couple of million more because it's not R-rated, it's for a family audience, it makes sense. So then you're going to say, Mick, why did the Joker make $1 billion? Because it's the Joker! He uplifted the first Suicide Squad movie, he uplifted Batman 89, he uplifted The Dark Knight. If Joker's not in that movie, no one's going to say that's the best movie ever, right? The Joker is as popular. The Joker may be the most popular comic book character. Now there's a hot take for you, because why do his films always uplift the box office of all these movies? It's not a coincidence, and Snyder was smart enough to put him in the Snyder Cut. Why do you think that is? Because Snyder knows what I know. And it worked. Jared Leto delivered a brilliant performance, and greatly written by Zack Snyder. We all enjoyed that, right? So again, I ask you, are we in a better position without Zack Snyder running the DCEU? Shall I give you my answer? No, we are not. We are not in a better position. I've recently said a lot of conflicting things about Zack Snyder and about some of his die-hard fans. But let me ask you this question, because I'm starting to turn around again towards the Snyder side of things, because I think I've seen the light, because I've always told you I love Snyder's DC movies. That's never changed. We're not in a better position, but let me ask you this question. If the Suicide Squad was Zack Snyder's Suicide Squad, do you think his fans would have come out to support that movie? Do you think the opening would have been better than 26 million? I'll give you my answer again. Yes. Why? Because Zack Snyder has loyal, passionate fans. Some of them cross the line. Some of them trigger me. It's true over on Twitter. It's true. But I'll give them one thing. They're not going to sit on their asses watching it on HBO Max. They want their director's movies to be successful because their director gives them something special and they want to reward him. That's the greatest fandom ever. And Warner Brothers dispersed that fandom. Now that fandom may look ugly to you, may look aggressive to you, but what you see as aggression is actually passion. That's what the DCEU has lost. Who is now running the DCEU? Walter Hamada, a producer I have supported from the very beginning. He's a very talented producer, but he knows jack shit about DC. And I have to question Walter on one thing. What kind of producer asks Christina Hodgson to write a Flash movie? She knows nothing about comic books. That worries me, and Flash is a movie I'm really excited about because it reboots the DCEU and it gives it a fresh start. But you know what worries me about that? There's never going to be a fresh start, is there? Because Snyder fans are always going to be out there saying, you know, we had this, we had that, and now we've got this. There's always going to be the noises from that fandom. Can we actually reset this? Of course we can. We could do a great multiverse strategy. And all you have to do is restore the Snyderverse as well as doing your multiverse strategy. Now at this moment in time that's not going to happen. But I feel that something's changed in the past couple of weeks. The Restore the Snyderverse movement has gained new momentum. Release the Haircut had a great event, over 400k tweets. Last night, Make the Batfleck movie, another movement I support. Over 50k tweets, 61k tweets, or whatever it was. That's very good. Don't underestimate just because it made less than Release the Haircut. Don't underestimate the success of that event either. So we are not in a better position. Are you really telling me that Birds of Prey is anywhere as good as Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad 2016 and Wonder Woman 2017? Are you really telling me this? Do you really believe that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, a movie I enjoyed, is better than Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman or Wonder Woman 2017, a movie I value so much as probably one of the, if not the best, CBMs ever made, and it's female led? It can be done. So we're not in a better position without Snyder. Because whatever you think about Snyder, and I've said at times I think he could have conducted himself in a better way with the studio, but at the end of the day, the studio and him have both got themselves to blame for where we are now. The studio haven't painted themselves in pink. Pink's my favourite colour, by the way. That's why I said pink. So everyone's made mistakes. And now the DCEU hasn't got a great reputation. You say the MCU, people say, wow, a great interconnected universe, it's successful, it's made money. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't. And you know, there's something to be said for being spoken about, and it's worse when they don't talk about you. Now, Zack Snyder made a comment about Aquaman, which I didn't agree with at the time, but I'm kind of thinking about it now. He said not many people talk about Aquaman, but they talk about BVS. So, no publicity is bad publicity. That's what he's saying. And he's right there, although I love Aquaman and I think it's a great movie. In fact, I think Aquaman is the best DCEU movie since Snyder was driven off the franchise. It is, because it's still made in that Snyder style. It's gladiator. It's gladiator. I'm trying to say the word. It's gladiatory. It's like a gladiator type movie. It's got that epicness about it. I like that movie. Shazam's a good family movie. It's not a film I go back and watch again and again. It was a good family movie. You saw the money it made. Birds of Prey made less than that. And Suicide Squad is a cinematic flop. And I earlier asked you the question, would Snyder fans come out in a more huger capacity to support a Zack Snyder Suicide Squad movie? I said yes. We know that Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is the most successful streaming event of all time. They just haven't admitted it. As you know, and as I've said to you, I've seen those figures. And it's successful worldwide. And you know what? People are going out buying the DVD, Blu-ray and 4K. I've got the 4K and I also own it on Prime Amazon Video. That tells you something. One of the best CBMs ever made. It's fantastic. What a great event that was. That movie and its marketing and the build-up to that movie excited everyone. Now, some people may have hated Snyder during Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. But people changed their minds about the man during the build-up and the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder loves DC, loves these DC characters, and he does something special with these movies. He gave these movies a unique take. Now, whatever you think of Snyder, since he's gone, apart from Aquaman, these movies don't have a unique take. They're self-contained. Snyder was giving us an interconnected universe, as we've seen from the leaked scripts for David Ayer's The Suicide Squad. Something very special that film looks like, and I want to see it. And I think that we will. And the problem now, because of this failure of The Suicide Squad, for its reasons, and I'll tell you who does know why The Suicide Squad flopped, is Warner Brothers. They'll know. They will know what went wrong. I've spoken about the pandemic. I've spoken about HBO Max, but they will know. And I've already asked the question, would Snyder fans have supported a Zack Snyder movie in their droves more than James Gunn and DC fans have come out to support James Gunn's The Suicide Squad? Even during a pandemic. Black Widow at MCU stands came out and supported that movie in its first week. Even in a pandemic. I wonder if Zack Snyder's latest Netflix movie, if it was just purely a theatrical release, how well it would do. I dare to say better than James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Again, I'm excited with what's going on next year. I'm excited for fandom. But there is a place for Zack Snyder. And it does pose the question here, doesn't it? Now, I've spoken about the Flash movie being the gamble that must pay off for Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff. Because I tell you what, they can now feel the shadow of David Zaslav's and Discovery's boot up their rear end. They're under real pressure now. And there's some very interesting and exciting projects being announced. But we are not right now. This time next year, after Black Adam and the Batman, we may be in a better position since Snyder left. We may be. Although, we may not be. I've already said to you that's irrelevant, although everyone will make more of it, of course, but it's all about that Flash movie. We are in a really, really interesting position now, because I think you've seen all my videos to the build-up of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I made some big claims about box office. I really believe people would come out. Now, there's no question, during the Delta variant, the box office has shrunk, because Free Guy got 28 million, not 48 million, not 58 million. But also I'm very interested, because Jungle Cruise has had better holds than James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Now, I'm not too sure if Jungle Cruise is on Disney Plus. I think it is. I'm not sure, but I think it is. If, and I don't know this for sure, But if Jungle Cruise is also on Premier Access, then that says something different than what I've been claiming about the Delta variant and HBO Max. And this paints a different picture. Why is Jungle Cruise holding better in its second week and its third week than the Suicide Squad's second week? So there are some serious questions to ask here, and I must remove my bias, because I'm always going to defend WB and DC because I'm a biased stan. That's who I am. But eventually, my bias leaves me, and I start to ask these questions. And this is why I decided today, I thought, let me do this video. Let me ask if we're in a better position now without Zack Snyder. And my opinion is that we're not. We're not in a better position. And I can't tell you the future. I can't tell you that the Batman's going to make $1 billion, or that The Rock's Black Adam's going to do really well, or this or that or the other, or The Flash is going to be the most successful movie. Because by November 2022, we'll be in a position in the box office where the old box office will return. And I think a Flash movie that does Flashpoint, that brings Michael Keaton's Batman back and several other classic DC interpretations in a film and puts all these characters together, well, that's got to be crossing 2 billion. It's got to be doing Force Awakens money. There's no question about that. Because if the market resets itself, there are no excuses. But, as I say, I can't predict the future. I can tell you I'm excited for next year, but I'm a little bit more concerned than I was, because I thought James Gunn doing a DC movie was a surefire hit. So let's put the pandemic to one side, and let's just say we're in a normal market. Why could this film have failed for non-COVID reasons? I've asked the question before. James Gunn's historic tweets, the boycott from the Snyder fans. It's interesting, isn't it? This movie hasn't fared well, and what's been buried is the Thursday night opening. First night for this film. It was terrible. It was terrible. People didn't even come out and support it in their droves. This film did not do well. And an R rating doesn't disguise that. Because I would imagine, normally, people would come out and support, a DC movie, even with it being on HBO Max. But that's not what happened. So it's a really difficult thing to figure out. Because there is COVID, there is a Delta variant, and it's on HBO Max for absolutely free in America, as long as you subscribe. So this is the thing. There's no pure evidence to prove its success or failure. But it has been a failure in the box office. Even I, with my bias, can't disguise that. And I know there's a bias. I know they're lauding Free Guy for making $2 million more when it hasn't even got a streaming deal right now. I understand that. I think a site was saying that movie theatres in America have been pumping this week, making lots of money. They haven't. It has shrunk. The box office has shrunk. There's no question about it. But let me ask you this. If Spider-Man No Way Home was released during the Delta variant, do you think people would come out to see it and support it? Do you think it would make more than 26 or the Free Guy's 28 million? Of course. I think this film could at least jump up to 50 million in a pandemic, domestic box office. We all know that. We all know there's an issue here. And I've admitted the bias of the media and all of that. People did not support the Suicide Squad. And there's another reason apart from the pandemic. So we are not in a better position without Zack Snyder. Whether you like Snyder or not, we are not in a better position. As I said, we may be in a better position this time next year with this plan. And by November, if everyone swallows up Andy Muschietti Flash movie, it's a different story. But I am concerned. I am understandably concerned about the future of this franchise, because I've told you before, how can the DCEU survive if the Flash movie tanks and isn't very good? It could be very good. I'm just telling you. With what I've seen from James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, I'm worried. And it's the same thing with Wonder Woman 84. Wonder Woman 84 was able to hide under the masquerade of a pandemic. So we'll never know how successful that movie actually was. And it gets a free pass. And Patty Jenkins gets a free pass when she shouldn't. We should be looking at the quality of the movie. You see, the DCEU wasn't making the money that Warner Brothers wanted it to make. With Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad 2016, it did well with Wonder Woman. It hobbled to 800 million, but they did extend the amount of time it was in cinemas just to get there. I didn't think that Wonder Woman film deserved $1 billion global final box office, but it didn't get it. I don't know why. I think it was the reputation of the DCEU at that point. But the MCU struggled and didn't make great money in its first 4 or 5 movies. But Disney bought that platform and they allowed Feige to do what he was doing because they didn't know what they were doing, and they had faith in him because he was a respected producer. He'd been producing years before he touched the MCU. He was producing the X-Men movies. He was producing Spider-Man movies, Raimi's Spider-Man movies. I don't know about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. This guy had been around for years and they knew about him and they had faith in him and they liked his plan. Because Bob Iger, if nothing else, is a visionary. So, when we look at Star Wars and why that's been an absolute clusterfuck, it's because they didn't have a prominent, intelligent producer like Kevin Feige. Or what do the Americans call him? Kevin Feige? Or anyway, I used to call him Kevin Feige. I now call him Kevin Feige. I don't think it really matters. Feige. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm getting distracted, right? The truth of the matter is, there's no other Kevin Feige out there. I don't know. Where are the successful franchises if anyone can do this? There are none. There are none. But we all know there's one animated producer who's made a big success of the DC animated universe, and I've forgotten his name. As I was building up to this, I'm thinking, what's his name? What's his name? You can comment down below and remind me. Obviously, this isn't live, so I can't be corrected and say, oh yes, is his first name Tim? I can't remember now. Anyway, the man's a legend. That's the kind of person you want to put in charge of a DC extended universe. But they didn't do that from the very beginning. So, we have to look at Snyder's early efforts. These, films like Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman are fucking epic classics, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion, but it's my opinion. If they allowed him to do his arc, maybe he could have turned the audience around. The way he describes Justice League 2 and Justice League 3, they sound fantastic. The mainstream audience liked Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. Imagine if we saw that in movie theatres in 2017. But we didn't. Because they didn't have faith in the man. Because it was very, very divisive. Very. But don't think it wasn't divisive for Kevin Feige during the first few MCU movies. It was. But comic book movies weren't the big talking point back then. So he was able to keep the pressure on the down low. He had as many people against him in the early days of the MCU as Zack Snyder did. And all WB had to do was hold their nerve, but they couldn't. Because the MCU was making money, their competitors were making money, and they thought, we want to make that money as well. Why are we not making that money? It's Snyder's fault. It must be Snyder's fault we're not making that money. Surely. So you get rid of Snyder, but then you've got this hybrid franchise of Snyder, and then Hamada comes in, and then Ann Sarnoff comes in and tells us, well, there's no one in charge here, it's just everyone sitting in a room together, and maybe that can work. I mean, I read her interview at Variety. Maybe it can work. We won't know until we see these future projects come out. Because as you know, I believe that Wonder Woman 84, Birds of Prey, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad are pretty much placeholders. So maybe it's too early to judge what they're doing. And I'm not judging what they're doing next year and in the future. I'm excited about it. But will they ever bring the hype that Snyder brought? Because Snyder understands these movies. And I mean, let's look at the future projects, right? How many of them are being worked by people who understand these characters? Let's take a look at it. Now, I like James Wan. I don't particularly think he's an Aquaman fan or anything, or a DC fan, but James Wan did a great job with Aquaman, so we can give him a pass. David F. Sandberg came from YouTube. I don't think he's a particular big DC fan either, but he's worked with Walter Hamada over at New Line Cinema. That's why he got the gig. Kathy Yan isn't a DC fan. She even took the Birds of Prey out of their costumes to prove it. Clusterfuck. They allowed Margot Robbie to be in charge of Birds of Prey. Clusterfuck. Wonder Woman 84. Now, Patty Jenkins claims she's a Wonder Woman fan, but I think she's a fan of the TV series, not the comic books, because anyone who's read a Wonder Woman comic book knows that Wonder Woman 84 isn't the way you adapt Wonder Woman and how you display her on the big screen. Now, James Gunn is obviously a nerd of movies and comics. He knows his stuff. I'm not saying his Suicide Squad movie is bad. But again, they made another big mistake. With Wonder Woman 84, we were being told that Wonder Woman 84 wasn't a sequel to the first one. Excuse me? You're telling me that your movie isn't a sequel to one of the best films ever made because you want to get as far away from it as possible. And then we got the same thing with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Reboot, sequel. Reboot, not a sequel. It's not a sequel. If it's not a sequel, why should normies be invested in it? Because whatever you keep on saying, internet, about the first Suicide Squad movie, it had 745 final global box office. People must have gone back again and again and again to watch that film. The Joker uplifted it. It's true, the relationship between Harley and the Joker uplifted it. We now know Harley can't sell a movie, right? Where are all the Harley stands? Why didn't they support the Suicide Squad? Now, it's clear some did, but not enough. I think Harley stands spend far too much time on the internet and don't go and actually watch the movies, from the looks of things. So the truth of the matter is, WB need fans like the Snyder fans, because they'll never let you down. They'll always buy a Blu-ray, and they'll always go to the cinema, and they'll buy the merch, and they'll even donate to your favourite fucking charity, as they've done for Zack. No one can deny this. Whether you don't like how loud they are and how triggering they are, and they trigger me as well. I've unfollowed loads of them. But the truth of the matter is, the Snyderverse was a great way of doing a cinematic universe. And I don't blame them for losing their patience with Snyder, because they just wanted to make all the money. The truth is now, at this point, they haven't made all the money. They made $1 billion on 2 movies, one of them not even a DCEU movie. James Wan's Aquaman, which is a brilliant movie that deserves $1 billion, and the Joker movie, the most successful, most profitable CBM of all time. No CBM has ever made a bigger profit than that movie, because that movie cost jack shit to make, and it made a lot of money, because it's an all-told, beautiful movie with a beautiful statement about the world we live in today. Yes, it tells a very great Elseworld Joker story, but it also talks about us being mean to each other. And maybe if people weren't mean to Arthur, and maybe if they respected the fact that he had mental health issues, and maybe if that woman didn't adopt him and allow her boyfriend to be cruel to him, things could have been different. It's a very interesting, in-depth movie that asks a varied of in-depth questions about the society we live in today. And even James Gunn says, you have to make more interesting CBMs for them to last. And I ask you that question. What are the more interesting CBMs? Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, The Suicide Squad 2016, Wonder Woman 2017, or Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, and Wonder Woman 84, and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad? Which of these films ask the more interesting questions? And then we talk about the Suicide Squad again. Maybe seeing a bunch of people dying isn't that much fun. After all, I must admit, when Captain Boomerang died, my excitement went down a bit. He killed off, right? He didn't really do David Ayer's characters, right, any favours. He uplifted his own characters. That's understandable. But he was the one bragging he could kill anyone. Well, if you can kill anyone, why don't you kill Harley? There's a multiverse strategy going on. We can pull another version of Harley that looks like Margot Robbie out of another Earth, right? Why don't you kill her for that movie, for the shock value? People say, well, David Ayer didn't kill many characters. I think 1 or 2 died, and they never seemed in a lot of danger. I actually feel they always seemed in danger. But you know what? Once I get to like characters, I don't really want to see them die anyway. I grew up in the 80s where the lead characters stayed alive. And I'm talking about mainstream blockbusters before you go to the Deadly Dozen and shit like that. So no, the DCEU is in no more better position than it was with Snyder. In fact, I'll make a bigger statement. The DCEU was in a stronger position with Snyder than without Snyder. And I believe at this time we're not in a good position. The movies simply are not on a standard. And it's, you know, of course they're a business. Of course they want to make money. But Man of Steel made a profit. Man of Steel made the same profit as Shazam. That's not a lot because it made a 650 or 670 million, but it still made money. BVS made just under $1 billion. Of course I believe it should have made more. A Batman and a Superman movie should make more. It should make Force Awakens money, but it still made money. They just had to be patient with him. Suicide Squad, if we saw David Ayer's Suicide Squad, God knows it could have made more than the 745 million that it did. Wonder Woman 2017 is a fucking work of beauty. But you tell me, are the others on the same standard of storytelling? Just like the Snyderverse. I think if you sit down and take your bias to one side, you'll say no. That in fact, we were better off with Zack Snyder. Now I've been saying a lot of things about looking to the future, leaving Snyder behind because they clearly don't want to work with him. But the truth is, I worked with a lot of people I didn't like because they give you results. Now at the end of the day, I believe people would have come to the plate and got behind Snyder's movies if only the studio was patient. Maybe they're seeing it now. But the truth of the matter is, the DCEU isn't a consistently successful franchise. It's had 4 great movies, and yes, I put Suicide Squad 2016 in those great movies. I think even that crappy edited movie is better than some movies I've seen since Snyder's gone. That's the truth of the matter. Because whatever you say about the 2016 Suicide Squad, you still care about those characters and what's going on. That's the point. A lot of people have gone to so many efforts to tell us that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is more superior than Suicide Squad 2016. Is it superior? Is it? I don't know. I'll let you answer that question. So, I've done a lot of soul searching, and I've looked at the state of the DCEU right now, including the result of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. It wasn't the magic wand we thought it would be. Because you know what? When you start a franchise in one way and it garners a fandom, maybe not a broader audience, a mainstream fandom, but a really strong, passionate fandom, you've got to go with it. Now you've got to find a way to bring in that audience somehow. And of course, the neater, tidier way of doing this from the very beginning was allowing Snyder to finish his arc. Because if you allow Snyder to finish his arc and he says, right, I'm done now, my decision, I've done what I wanted to do, I'm done, I'm finished, you know. Or maybe, in the end, his movies became so successful he would carry on. But whatever, even if you allowed him to finish his arc and he moved on, guess what would have happened with the Snyder fans? They would have still supported the the DCEU. Now you've got this mess of a situation where you've got a civil war between the fandoms. So the DCEU isn't fit for purpose anymore. And we have to wait till next year. We have to wait till Flashpoint to see if they can turn this ship around. But let me be clear here. It's not a foregone conclusion. The situation is a clusterfuck. And it's a big shame. It really is. What do I think the DCEU needs at this point? Let me tell you what I would have done. After Justice League, I would have done one of two things. I would have went back to Snyder and said, please, release your movie and finish your arc. That's one of the things they could have done to fix this straight away. Once they saw it was a flop, they could have done that. That's the easiest thing to do. Right, we made a fucking mistake. I mean, they shouldn't have done the Justice League thing. They should have allowed him to release his movie. But apart from that, please, Zack, come back, finish up what you were doing, and, you know, we'll work together to see what to do next. Either that, or you have to disband the DCEU and start from scratch. And you need someone who knows what they're doing to run the entire thing. You can't say that Zack Snyder didn't know what he was doing. He had his own ideas. They didn't go down well with some and went down really well with others. So we have this hybrid DCEU now. So why reboot the franchise with Flash? Because they're hoping they can start afresh. But without Snyder, the man who started this, being part of that creative process, they still have Snyder fans causing trouble at the other end. And this debate and this conversation will never end. I hope that the Flash movie is successful, that everyone's happy. It's unlikely, but I hope that. Or we're just going to keep on going on and on with one flop after the other. But the truth is, the movie that can't flop is the Flash movie. Because if it does, it's game over and they'll have to start again. Now we know that Zaslav and Discovery are very ambitious people. That this is why Discovery is one of the most, one of the most successful entertainment platforms of all time. And they're going to want to bring that success to WB, because WB have been flailing. The ownership of Discovery is very important, and I think this is why it's a good thing. Because we know that Zaslav wants to put Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman front and centre of a DC franchise. They may decide themselves and say, do you know what? Let's start again. So, even though I don't believe it's a foregone conclusion that David Zaslav and Discovery are going to come riding on their white horses and say, here, Zack, here's the keys, although they may just do that. We don't know what they're thinking. So, as I say, in the past few weeks, something's changed in terms of Restore the Snyderverse. Zack may even have a direct line to David Zaslav and Discovery himself. Nobody knows. Zack Snyder is a very clever man. That's how he got his film released. You know, that's why we got the Snyder Cut, because he was smart enough to fight. And he's a very smart man. So don't underestimate Snyder. But I will tell you one thing, as I finish off, as I said at the beginning, the DCEU is in no better position now than it was when Snyder was here. In fact, as I said earlier, the DCEU was in a better position with Zack Snyder. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe. Tap that little notification bell so you never miss this perfection. This has been the Movies TV Daily, Monday's edition of the Movies TV Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, and I will see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and thanks for caring. See you again soon. And if you are going to comment down below, please be as constructive as you can and be nice to each other. We need to be nicer to each other. We see what's going on in Afghanistan. We see what's going on around the world with COVID. People are desperately angry in the real world and on social media. We need to be constructive, because if our biggest problem is a movie franchise, we really don't have any problems at all. See you again in the next video. See you later.